There are moments in our lives when someone crosses our mind, not just once, but again and again, without any direct communication. And it's in these moments, when words are silent and distance feels vast, that we may need to listen to the whispers of our hearts. This is not mere coincidence. This is something deeper, something our souls are trying to reveal to us. Unspoken connections, we often find ourselves thinking about someone consistently, even when there's no direct communication. This can signify a deep, unspoken connection that transcends mere words. The mind has a unique ability to hold on to people, places, and emotions that resonate with our hearts. Let's take a moment to think about something that happens to all of us, something we don't always recognize right away: the power of unspoken connections. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that communication must be verbal, that to truly connect with someone, you need to speak to them face to face on the phone or in some kind of direct way. But if you've ever had someone cross your mind again and again, even when they haven't reached out to you, or you haven't reached out to them, you know that connection goes far deeper than just the exchange of words. You see, the reality is that human beings are not just physical entities, we're also deeply emotional and energetic. We are constantly in exchange, whether we realize it or not. There are subtle connections, powerful and invisible, that bind us to others. You might not be texting them, you might not be calling them, but there's something that keeps them in your thoughts. And when that happens, it's not just your mind wandering, it's your soul reaching out. It's something inside of you recognizing that there is a thread that hasn't been cut yet, a bond that hasn't been broken. When someone stays in your thoughts without direct communication, it's because your heart has picked up on something that your mind hasn't fully processed. It's like when you walk into a room and you feel an energy shift. You don't see it, you don't hear it, but you feel it in your gut. This is the kind of connection we're talking about. Your heart is wired to sense things before your mind catches up. And when someone occupies your mind without words being exchanged, it's a signal that this person matters to you in a way that might be beyond logical explanation. Think about how often we interact with people without speaking. You might see someone at work, at school, or even in your own home, and while you may not exchange a single word with them that day, there's still an exchange happening. The way they look at you, the energy they give off, the moments you share in silence, these things leave a mark. They don't need to say a word for you to understand that their presence is felt. And sometimes this presence lingers far longer than we expect. In this digital age, where we're constantly bombarded with messages, notifications, and screens, it's easy to forget that connection doesn't always need to be in the form of a text or a call. Some of the most profound connections are nonverbal. They happen in the space between words, in the glance that lingers a little too long, or in the smile that speaks volumes. Your mind and heart can hold on to people long after the words are said and done. But here's the thing: when this person keeps showing up in your thoughts, it's not just about them. It's about you too. What is it in you that makes you think of them? What part of yourself is being activated when their image or energy crosses your mind? Maybe it's because they've played a pivotal role in your life, or maybe it's because they represent something you're seeking, something you want more of, or something you need to heal. These connections can be profound, even if they don't fit the traditional mold of a relationship. Maybe it's a family member you haven't spoken to in years, but who is still very much a part of your emotional landscape. Or maybe it's someone you've met briefly, but their presence left an impression so lasting, it feels like they've always been there. Whatever the case, unspoken connections remind us that relationships aren't confined to what we say, they're about what we feel, what we experience, and how we impact one another without even realizing it. So when you find yourself thinking about someone over and over again, even without any direct communication, don't dismiss it as just a random thought. Understand that there's more happening here. This person or their energy is tapping into something within you that needs attention. The universe works in mysterious ways, and sometimes these connections are nudging you towards something. They might be pointing you to healing, to closure, or simply to reflection. Remember this: sometimes the deepest connections happen in silence, in the spaces where words can't reach. They're there to teach us, to guide us, and to remind us that some bonds can never be broken by distance or time. So, the next time you find yourself thinking about someone without a word being spoken between you, pay attention. There's a message there, and that message might be just the key you need to unlock a new chapter in your life. Don't ignore it, the power of intuition. Our subconscious mind works in mysterious ways. When someone is constantly in your thoughts without direct contact, your intuition might be trying to tell you something. Your mind is picking up on subtle signals that you might not be consciously aware of, indicating their importance in your life. Let's dive into something that might seem a little intangible at first, but if you really think about it, it holds so much power in our lives: the power of intuition. This is that feeling you get deep down in your gut, that quiet voice inside your head that often guides you in directions you don't always understand at the time. Intuition is not something we learn, it's something we feel. It's a sense we all have, even if we don't always trust it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When someone is constantly on your mind, and there's no direct communication happening, that could be your intuition talking to you. The subconscious mind works in ways we can't always explain, yet it knows so much more than we give it credit for. We might not be aware of the small details, the energy, the shifts in body language, or the subtle signs that have made this person so prominent in your thoughts. But your subconscious mind has picked up on them. Your intuition is constantly processing information, digesting everything you experience, whether you're aware of it or not. Think of it like a radar system. You're walking through life, living your day-to-day, and your mind is scanning for things that might be important. The beauty of intuition is that it can tune into things that are beyond our conscious awareness. We all have that ability to sense something that isn't obvious. It's like that feeling when you know someone is thinking about you, even if they haven't said a word. You may not understand why, but deep inside you just know. Your subconscious mind has detected a pattern, a shift, an energy, and it's delivering that information to you through your intuition. Now, you might be wondering, why is this important? Why should I pay attention to this? Well, let me tell you something. Intuition doesn't just show up to give us a little whisper now and then. It shows up when we need it most. It's that quiet nudge that urges you to reach out to someone you haven't talked to in years, or to make a decision you've been avoiding. You might not be able to logically explain why you feel the way you do, but that's where the magic lies. Sometimes the most important decisions in our lives are not made through logic or reason, but through intuition. It's your heart and soul recognizing something before your mind can even process it. And let's be honest here. We've all had those moments where we made a decision based on what felt right, even though we didn't have all the facts. Maybe you decided to follow a certain path in life, chose a career, or even took a leap of faith in a relationship. Looking back, you might not have had concrete reasons for your actions, but there was something inside of you, a feeling, a knowing, that told you it was the right move. That's your intuition guiding you. But what happens when that intuition is focused on someone else? When you can't stop thinking about someone and there's no explanation, no reason for it, that's the moment to pay attention. Your mind is trying to tell you something. There's a message there, something you need to uncover. Maybe it's a signal that you need to reach out to that person. Maybe it's a reminder that something left unsaid is affecting you on a deeper level. Or maybe it's your soul calling you to heal, to let go, or to make a shift in your own life because of the impact that person has had on you. Here's the key. Your intuition isn't trying to confuse you. It's not here to make things complicated. It's simply trying to help you make sense of what's going on inside of you, and often it does so in a very subtle way. The challenge is learning to trust it, to listen to it, and most importantly, to act on it. Our minds are busy. We're constantly bombarded with thoughts, distractions, and information. But when someone shows up in your mind again and again without communication, that's your intuition signaling you to slow down, to pay attention, and to dig deeper. You don't need to have all the answers right now. You don't need to understand why it's happening. What you need to do is trust that your intuition is there to guide you. It's like a compass, pointing you in the direction you need to go. Whether it's to heal, to communicate, or to reflect, your intuition is always there, whispering in the background, waiting for you to listen. So, the next time you find yourself constantly thinking about someone, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, what is my intuition trying to tell me? What is your mind trying to process that you haven't yet acknowledged? Your subconscious is trying to show you something, and if you tune in, you'll find the answers you need. Trust it, listen to it, and let it lead you toward the clarity and insight you've been searching for. Remember, intuition is not some mystical force, it's a tool we all have, one that can help guide us through life's most important moments. Don't ignore it, embrace it, because when you start listening to your intuition, you're not just following a feeling, you're following the path to your deepest truth. Understanding emotional attachments. When we are emotionally connected to someone, even if they are not physically present, their energy can linger in our thoughts. This could be an indication of unresolved emotions, or even a sign that they have had a significant impact on who we are and who we are becoming. Let me tell you something that might seem obvious but is often overlooked. Our emotional attachments are powerful. They shape who we are, how we feel, and the way we interact with the world around us. When you find yourself constantly thinking about someone, even though you haven't spoken to them in a while, it's not just a passing thought. It's your emotions at work. Emotions aren't something we can always control, but they're always there, guiding us, influencing our decisions, and even shaping our identity. Here's the thing, emotional attachments aren't just limited to romantic relationships. They're far more expansive than that. We form emotional bonds with our family, our friends, even places and experiences. And when we are emotionally attached to someone, we feel their presence, even when they aren't physically there. This connection doesn't rely on communication. It doesn't require text messages, phone calls, or even face-to-face conversations. This connection lives within us. When someone is constantly on your mind without any interaction, it's a sign that your heart is still holding on to them. Emotional attachments are sticky like that. They leave impressions. They carve out space in your psyche and in your life. You might not be in regular contact with them, but their energy, their influence continues to linger. And that's because your emotions are tied to them in ways that words can't always describe. But here's the deeper truth. Emotional attachments don't just happen out of nowhere. They come from a place of connection, understanding, and often vulnerability. When we open ourselves up to another person, when we let our guard down, that's when these emotional bonds form. And while they can be beautiful, they can also be complex. Sometimes we form attachments to people who bring us joy, who lift us up, who make us feel seen and heard. But sometimes we also form attachments to people who trigger unresolved wounds, past pain, or deep-seated fears. These attachments are not always clean and neat. They can be messy and complicated. That's why it's so important to pay attention when someone shows up in your thoughts, unbidden, without any communication. Your emotional attachment to them might be calling for your attention. It's asking you to acknowledge what's unresolved. Maybe there's something you need to process, something that's been left unsaid or undone, or perhaps it's your heart asking for closure, for healing, or even for forgiveness. Our emotions can't be easily ignored. They'll find their way to the surface, one way or another. Here's where things get tricky. Sometimes we ignore these emotional signals. We push them down, tell ourselves it's no big deal, and try to move on. But that's not how emotions work. Emotions need to be acknowledged and processed. If we don't address them, they'll find other ways to make themselves known. They'll show up in our dreams, in our thoughts, in our actions. The person who keeps showing up in your mind might be the embodiment of something you need to heal. Maybe they represent a lesson you haven't yet learned. Maybe they represent a part of yourself you've neglected. Let's face it, most of us don't like sitting with uncomfortable emotions. We'd rather distract ourselves, numb ourselves, avoid the things that bring up pain. But that doesn't make the emotions go away. They're still there, waiting for us to face them. And when someone is constantly in your thoughts without any communication, it's a sign that your heart wants to work through something. It's telling you, hey, there's something here that needs attention. The truth is, emotional attachments are not just about what others have done to us. They're about what we've allowed ourselves to feel, how we've allowed ourselves to connect. And that's what makes them so powerful. Our emotions are the lens through which we view the world. They influence our decisions, our behaviors, and our actions. When someone occupies our thoughts, it's because they've impacted us emotionally in some way, whether we realize it or not. So, the next time you find yourself constantly thinking about someone, don't just brush it off. Ask yourself, what is it about this person that has me thinking of them? What part of my heart are they touching, or perhaps even challenging? This is an opportunity for reflection, for growth, for healing. It's an opportunity to understand your emotional attachments more deeply and to learn from them. You have the power to choose what those emotional attachments mean in your life. You have the ability to either hold on to them or let them go, to process them or ignore them. But know this, the longer you hold on to something that's unresolved, the longer it will continue to show up in your life, in your thoughts, and in your heart. So don't wait. Take the time to explore your emotional attachments. Let them guide you to greater understanding, to deeper healing, and to a more peaceful place within yourself. Because when you start acknowledging and addressing those emotional bonds, that's when true growth happens. That's when you can move forward with clarity, strength, and a renewed sense of purpose. Remember, your emotions are powerful. They shape your world. Don't let them control you. Take control of them and use them to become the person you're meant to be. Signs of unfinished business. When you can't stop thinking about someone, it may indicate that there is something left unsaid, something unresolved. Often, our minds continue to revisit these thoughts because there is an emotional or psychological need that hasn't been addressed yet. Let's dive deeper into something that most of us don't think about enough: unfinished business. It's something we all have, whether we like to admit it or not. Unfinished business can be found in so many areas of our lives. Maybe it's a conversation you never had, an apology that was never said, or a question that was left unanswered. And what happens when that unfinished business remains? It lingers, often silently, but it can weigh heavily on our hearts and minds, like a weight we can't quite shake off. When someone occupies your thoughts constantly, even without communication, it's often a sign that there's some unfinished business between you and that person. Maybe it's something that wasn't said when it needed to be said. Maybe there's something left unresolved that your mind keeps circling back to. The thing is, when there's unfinished business, it doesn't just go away. It doesn't disappear because you choose not to deal with it. It remains, lurking in the background, influencing your thoughts and your emotions. And when this happens, the person who's constantly on your mind might be the key to helping you close that chapter. Let me tell you something, we've all been there, where we think we've let something go, but deep down we know we haven't. We think we've moved on, but in the quiet moments, when we're alone with our thoughts, we realize we haven't truly resolved whatever it is that's bothering us. And the worst part is that we don't even always know how to fix it. We don't know how to close that chapter. That's where the real struggle begins. Because until you address that unfinished business, it keeps calling you back again and again. Here's the tough truth. Unfinished business doesn't just affect your relationship with the person involved. It affects you. It affects your peace of mind, your ability to move forward, and your emotional health. You might think you're fine, that you've dealt with it, but your subconscious mind knows better. Your heart knows better, and when you keep thinking about that person without communication, it's often a reflection of that unresolved issue. It's your inner self asking for closure, for resolution, for some kind of understanding. But here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes unfinished business isn't about the other person at all. It's about you. It's about something you need to resolve within yourself. Maybe there's guilt that you haven't forgiven yourself for. Maybe it's shame or regret. The person who occupies your thoughts might be the symbol of that inner conflict, that unresolved piece of your own soul. And until you make peace with yourself, the unfinished business will continue to resurface. But let's not sugarcoat it. Addressing unfinished business is hard. It's uncomfortable. It's often painful. It requires us to be vulnerable, to confront things we might not be ready to face. But here's the thing. Ignoring it only prolongs the discomfort. You can only run from it for so long. Unfinished business has a way of following you, finding its way into your dreams, your thoughts, and your actions. It doesn't just disappear. It doesn't just fade away with time. It festers until you deal with it head on. So if you find yourself constantly thinking about someone and there's no communication between you, it's a sign. It's a sign that there's something left undone, something that needs attention. Maybe you need to reach out to that person. Maybe you need to have that hard conversation. Or maybe you need to forgive yourself for something you've been holding on to. Either way, it's time to face it. It's time to bring that unfinished business into the light. And let me tell you something powerful. When you finally deal with your unfinished business, it's like a weight is lifted. It's like you've been carrying around a burden, and the moment you release it, you can breathe again. There's a freedom that comes with resolving what's been left undone. You don't realize how much it's been holding you back until you finally let go. But the beauty of unfinished business is that it's never too late to resolve it. It doesn't matter how long it's been. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. If something is still on your mind, it's a sign that it's time to address it. You have the power to close that chapter, to find resolution, and to move forward. So, the next time someone keeps coming to mind without any communication, ask yourself, what's the unfinished business here? What's the unresolved issue I need to face? Whether it's with them, with yourself, or with the situation, it's time to step up and deal with it. Because when you take care of unfinished business, you take back your power. You reclaim your peace of mind. You free yourself from the past so that you can embrace the future. Remember, this unfinished business doesn't just hurt your relationships, it hurts you. It drains your energy, your focus, and your ability to move forward. So face it, resolve it, let it go. Because when you do, you free yourself to live the life you're meant to live. Reflection of our inner desires. Sometimes the people who occupy our thoughts represent something we crave, whether it's love, understanding, recognition, or healing. These people might embody qualities we long for within ourselves, and our thoughts can serve as a mirror to reflect our desires. Now, let's talk about something that gets overlooked too often, reflection of our inner desires. When we can't stop thinking about someone, it's often not just about them, it's about something they represent in our lives. Maybe they remind us of something we want, something we crave, something we need. The mind has a way of projecting our desires onto people, situations, and experiences. And when we find ourselves thinking about someone without communication, it's usually because they symbolize a deeper longing within us. Think about it. People who show up in your thoughts frequently often carry qualities that you admire or desire in your own life. They might represent a certain kind of love, success, or happiness that you are yearning for. These people are mirrors. They reflect aspects of ourselves, parts of our personality or future we aspire to embody. Maybe it's their confidence that you admire, or their kindness that you wish you could express more freely. Maybe they have something you feel you are lacking, and your mind is drawn to them as a reminder of the gap you're trying to fill within yourself. This is where the psychology gets interesting. When you're constantly thinking about someone, your mind isn't just fixated on that person. It's fixated on what that person represents for you. Whether you realize it or not, your thoughts about them are less about them and more about what they signify in the grand scheme of your life. They might represent a relationship that you desire, a career that excites you, or qualities you wish to develop. You're not just thinking about them as an individual. You're projecting your aspirations, dreams, and desires onto them. Here's where we need to get real. What we long for the most can often be found in those around us. Think about someone you admire, someone who constantly crosses your mind. Ask yourself, what do they represent to me? You may come to realize that they embody something you feel you need to bring into your own life. Maybe it's the love they have for themselves, something you've struggled with. Or maybe it's the success they've achieved in their career, something you're striving for. Sometimes people show up in our thoughts because they reflect back to us the qualities we're trying to cultivate within ourselves. But here's the catch. When we see something we want in someone else, it's not always about them fulfilling that need. It's about us realizing that we have the ability to cultivate that desire ourselves. We often project our dreams onto others because we believe they're the ones who have the power to give us what we need. But the truth is, we already have the power within ourselves to create the life we desire. It's not about finding someone else to give us what we lack. It's about recognizing that we are the ones who need to take action and do the work to manifest those desires in our own lives. So, when you find yourself thinking about someone frequently, ask yourself what they're really representing for you. What do they have that you want for yourself? And more importantly, how can you go about achieving that for yourself? They're not a reflection of what you're missing. They're a mirror showing you what's already possible within you. This is where self-awareness comes in. Once you realize that your thoughts about someone are really just reflections of your own unfulfilled desires, you can begin to shift your focus back to yourself, your own growth, and your own empowerment. And here's another thing that's worth noting when you focus on your own growth. You start to realize that the people who occupy your thoughts don't need to have all the answers for you. You have the power to achieve your dreams and aspirations without waiting for someone else to show you the way. Sure, others can inspire you, motivate you, and guide you, but ultimately, it's up to you to step into your own greatness. When you stop projecting your desires onto others and start internalizing them, you'll find that the constant thoughts about that person start to fade. Why? Because you're no longer looking outside of yourself for validation, for answers, or for what you're missing. You've shifted your focus inward, and that's where true transformation happens. So, here's the challenge. The next time someone occupies your thoughts, ask yourself, what are they representing for me? What do I truly desire? And how can I create that for myself? Because the truth is, the more you focus on what you can do for yourself, what you can build, what you can manifest, the more you realize that you are the creator of your own life. The more you realize that the things you admire in others are already within you, waiting to be nurtured and expressed. Remember, this people come into our lives as reflections of who we are, who we want to be, and what we are capable of becoming. But you are the one who holds the key to your own desires. Don't wait for someone else to unlock your potential. You already have the power within you. So, take that power, focus on your own growth, and step boldly into the life you've always wanted. The universe is guiding you. In opera style, this would be the moment to talk about the power of synchronicity and the universe. When someone is consistently on your mind, it's possible that the universe is nudging you to take action, whether it's to reach out, heal, or simply gain clarity about the role this person plays in your journey. Now, let's talk about something that's been a guiding force in many of our lives, whether we recognize it or not. The idea that the universe is guiding us. It might sound a little abstract or even mystical, But stay with me. When you find yourself thinking about someone constantly without any direct communication, it's not just a random thought. It's a sign, a signal from the universe, telling you that something important is unfolding in your life. The universe doesn't just act by chance. It operates with intention, and those thoughts, those moments of deep reflection, might be its way of guiding you towards something bigger, something more aligned with your purpose. Think about it. How often do we find ourselves in situations where we're not sure where we're going, what we're doing, or even why we're doing it? But then, out of nowhere, someone crosses our mind, or something happens that feels like it's meant to be. You might even find that certain people reappear in your life at exactly the right moment. These aren't coincidences. They are synchronicities, carefully orchestrated events designed to lead us down the path we're meant to walk. When someone constantly occupies your mind, there's often a deeper meaning behind it. The universe is nudging you toward a lesson, an opportunity, or a realization that you need in order to move forward. It's not always going to be clear at first. In fact, it can often feel confusing. But that's the point. The universe often operates in ways that don't align with our own timeline or understanding. It's about trust. It's about listening to those subtle nudges even when they don't make sense. The universe will put people in your life or keep them in your thoughts because it's guiding you toward a greater purpose, something that's aligned with your soul's true desire. This kind of guidance doesn't come with a roadmap. It's not a step-by-step guide to your destiny. No, it's far more subtle. The universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. It speaks through your thoughts, your feelings, and even your intuition, the same intuition we talked about earlier. That constant thought about someone, that lingering feeling, those are often the universe's whispers, reminding you to pay attention, to act, to reflect, or simply to be still. I know it's not always easy to recognize these moments for what they are. We're so caught up in the noise of our daily lives, constantly moving from one thing to the next, that we forget to listen. But the truth is, the more you start to pay attention to these subtle signs, the more you'll begin to see the threads that connect everything. You'll start to realize that the people who occupy your thoughts aren't just occupying space. They're part of a larger picture, a picture that the universe is painting for you, one brushstroke at a time. Let me make this even clearer. You may find yourself thinking about a person who you haven't spoken to in years. Maybe this person is someone you've lost touch with, or someone who made a significant impact on your life. When they keep showing up in your thoughts, it might not just be a random memory. It could be the universe reminding you of something you need to learn or something you need to heal. Perhaps there's unfinished business or a lesson you still need to absorb. The universe doesn't forget these things. It brings them back to the surface when we're ready to face them. This is where the real power comes in. The universe doesn't force anything on us. It doesn't make decisions for us. It simply offers opportunities, signs, and guidance. But the choice of whether or not we follow it is up to us. The people who occupy your thoughts are often not there by accident. They are there because they hold a key to something you need to understand or learn in order to grow. Your challenge is to recognize the invitation when it's given to you and then take action. It might be time to reach out, to confront something you've been avoiding, or to simply acknowledge the impact that person has had on your life. Maybe it's time to let go, to forgive, or to make peace with the past. The universe won't give you the answer on a silver platter. It will give you the opportunity, and it's up to you to make the choice. It's up to you to decide whether or not you'll follow the guidance that's been laid out for you. So, the next time someone keeps appearing in your thoughts, don't brush it off. Don't dismiss it as coincidence. Take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, why is this person on my mind right now? What lesson is the universe trying to teach me? What opportunity is being presented to me through this connection? The universe is always working in the background, orchestrating events, connecting people, and guiding us toward the lives we're meant to lead. But it's up to us to stay open, to pay attention, and to trust the process. Trust that these thoughts, these people, these moments are not random. They are part of the beautiful, intricate plan that is unfolding in your life. In the end, it's not about knowing exactly where the path leads. It's about trusting that you're being guided exactly where you need to go. So listen to those whispers, pay attention to the signs, and most importantly, follow the guidance the universe is offering you. Because when you do, you align yourself with your true purpose, and that's where the real magic happens.